Shalom and welcome to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker. The political landscape of America is changing, and socialism is rearing its head in a more profound way than any other previous time in our history. Conservatism is being redefined in the Bible, if even referenced, is no longer the foundation upon which America is built. Here to talk about what's going on in America today is Joe Newby of ConservativeFiringLine.com. Joe is a 10-year veteran of the United States Marine Corps who wrote for Examiner.com for 6 years. His articles have also appeared at Newsbusters, Spokane Faith and Values, and other conservative sites. He currently runs the Conservative Firing Line, where he discusses issues important to conservatives. He's the co-author of Banned: How Facebook Enables Militant Islamic Jihad, and he appears here on Revealing the Truth on the first Monday of each month in the 12 o'clock hour. Here to bring us up to date on America Gone Wild is Joe Newby. Joe, so good to see you on this election eve.
Good to see you, Eric. How you doing this morning? Or it's afternoon, I guess, where you're at.
It is. It is. We are on the precipice of life as we know it radically changing.
Absolutely. This election, I think, we say this every election, every time we have one of these elections, we always say the same thing. This is going to be, an election for the history books, the most important election of my lifetime. But this time, and I know I said it back in 2016. I know that for a fact, Eric. But I got to tell you, this time, I have said it this time as well. And I truly believe it, because I think we are on the precipice, as you say. And if it can go either way. And that's what makes this so hard, because we have a stark choice between not just two candidates, but between two competing ideologies, and that being capitalism and freedom and socialism and tyranny. It's that stark, quite literally.
People are preparing, regardless of who gets elected. Downtown Birmingham has a Walmart. It's boarded up in anticipation of riots.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of who gets elected. They are expecting the streets of Birmingham to be filled with people who are not happy. Whether or not it's Trump getting reelected and Antifa and Black Lives Matter, or Biden getting elected and the response to even thinking that this was a coerced, corrupt candidate placed into office for the sole purpose of him not being president for 4 years.
Well, I understand your concern. You're absolutely right on the first half. But I'm going to differ in opinion just a little bit on the second half, because conservatives do not riot. We don't do that. We could have done that when Barack Obama got elected the first time. We didn't. We didn't like it. We cried in our collective beer, maybe. We put our hands up to God and say, what did we do wrong? Why us? But we didn't go into the street and burn things down, because that's not who we are. In 2012, when Barack Obama won re-election, again, we didn't go out and protest in the streets. We didn't go out and burn things down. Again, that's not who we are, Eric. We don't like it, but we suck it up and we try to reflect back on what happened, what we did wrong, and then we try to get it right the next time, and we did in 2016. And I don't think that conservatives will riot in the street this time either. I really don't. Um, I do think there'll be rioting in the street. I do think there'll be fires, there'll be cities burned down. And the reason I say that is because over the last few years, there's an element on the left that feels like they have carte blanche basically to run rampant in the street. It doesn't matter the excuse. It really doesn't. This time I can see them saying, well, Donald Trump lost, so he has to leave now. So we got to get rid of him now. In fact, there's a group in Washington, D.C., that is set to do that very thing. Whether Trump wins or loses, they're set to assault the White House and to pull him out, drag him out by force if necessary. That's why they're putting a protective wall in front of the White House right now, because of that very thing. So I don't think it's going to be conservatives. I don't even think it's going to be what some people like to term the alt-right. I don't think that will be the case at all. I think it will be the left, again, thinking that their side won, that they now have carte blanche to do whatever they want to do, and they're going to do it. Now, of course, we know what's going to happen if Donald Trump wins, and I personally think he will win, Eric, for several reasons. Number one, I think the enthusiasm, when you look at the enthusiasm of these rallies, good grief. Eric, there are thousands of people out there in the street, tens of thousands, going to these rallies. Look at what happened there in Pennsylvania. No, it wasn't Pennsylvania. Where was it? Minnesota, I think it was, or one of those states, where the governor had everybody down in lockdown and said, no, you can't have more than 250 people in the rally. Well, guess what happened? There were thousands outside waiting for the president. You compare that to Joe Biden yelling at a group of maybe 10 or 15 cars in a parking lot someplace. Seriously. Even where I'm living at, and granted, I probably live in one of the most Republican areas in the country, right? But as I recall, I still saw a few Hillary Clinton signs and Hillary Clinton bumper stickers out there on the road. I haven't seen one Biden sign anywhere in my area. Not one. Not one. So I don't think the enthusiasm is there for Joe Biden. I really don't. After the last debate with Donald Trump got him to admit what he wants to do with the oil industry. I think that was the turning point right there, because he got Joe Biden to admit once and for all that he wants to get rid of the oil industry. So I'm optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'll put it that way. The polls were wrong in 2016. They're just as wrong today. The polls don't match the enthusiasm that you see on the street. They don't match what you see at these rallies. These media people are out there trying to make us believe that did you see some of the video clips of his efforts over the weekend, Joe Biden?
That one word that he spoke that was the most nonsensical, it was like a Dr. Seuss kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, and it gets better. Kamala Harris, yesterday, on Sunday, what does she do? She pumps out a video, puts it out there on Twitter, And this video is nothing more than an open promotion for full-on communism, for crying out loud. And she's doing this 2 days before the election. Seriously, somebody in the Trump campaign needs to get a hold of that and make hay out of that. They really do.
So how influenced is this election going to be when over half the vote has already been cast?
I think there are, we've been hearing a lot of what they call the shy Trump voter. And I think we're going to see a lot of those people come out. When I was on Facebook, which I was there until just the beginning of this month, or last month, I was seeing memes all over the place. I'll crawl through 100 miles of broken glass.
Right.
Even if I have COVID, I'm going to crawl through 100 miles of broken glass to vote for Donald Trump. I mean, that was the kind of enthusiasm I was seeing on Facebook when I was there. I'm seeing that on Twitter. I'm seeing it on Parler. I'm seeing it on some of these other alternatives that I'm at. The enthusiasm level for Donald Trump, Eric, I don't think is something that anyone can quantify. I really don't.
If in fact he is reelected, and it does not trickle down to the Senate, what happens then if we have a 50-50?
I think what you'll see there in that case, personally, I honestly don't think that's going to happen, because I think at worst case, the Senate will probably remain as is, worst case. There are a few races out there that people are watching closely. The McSally race out in Arizona being one. There's another race up in, I think it's Minnesota, being another one. There's a few of these races out there that even they are tightening up and leaning leaning to the Republican. So at worst case, I don't honestly see Democrats taking the Senate. It just doesn't make sense to me that you would have this level of enthusiasm for Donald Trump, but not the same level of enthusiasm for the people down ballot from him. I just don't see that happening, Eric. I'd be very surprised. In fact, I'm even willing to go so far as to say that I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see the Republicans take the House this time around. I could be wrong. It's happened a time or two, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see that happen.
Well, we both have very great wishful thinking, because in the last or next 4 years, a great deal of change can take place. Prosecutions of the Clintonites, prosecution of the Bidenites, and exposing of the corruption that Jeff Sessions wasted 2 years in office not doing, the failed Mueller investigation. Then you've got this rabid Nancy Pelosi, who she and Chuck Schumer really belong as the poster children for the American Kennel Association, because they are rabid dogs that doesn't matter what it is. They are rabid about it, and everything is unprecedented, and illegal, and illegitimate. And there's been 4 years of people who are elected to represent their constituency that have not done the job. And if you're going to become involved in politics at all, you're supposed to be the voice of your constituents. I mean,
Right.
Doug Jones is a perfect example. Doug Jones does not speak for a single person in Alabama.
Oh, I know.
Does not.
Well, except maybe for his party bosses, but that's about it.
And that's small. So if Tuberville doesn't win, then there's just something really diseased, cancerous that is so malignant that
I tend to agree with you on that, Eric. I really do. I think it's going to all come down to one thing, and that's turnout. The more people that get out tomorrow and vote, the better it will be, and that's the key, not just for our side winning, but it's also key to getting past any fears of possible voter fraud, because we know that the Democrats have this voter fraud machine thing going. Back Joe Biden, and I'm not sure it was a gaffe really here the other day when he said we've got the largest voter fraud operation in American political history. I think I think that's one of the few times in his 47-year political career that he was actually telling the truth. I think he did that quite by accident. That's just my opinion. But we know that there is a move to cheat in this election on the part of the Democrats. There have been people caught red-handed on video engaging in ballot harvesting, buying votes for money. We saw this. Project Veritas caught this up in Minnesota. People working for Ilhan Omar and others. All these incidents of ballots just suddenly finding their way in a ditch somewhere that were on a mail truck someplace, and all of a sudden they're in a ditch or they're in a dumpster or who knows where. So we know that there are efforts to sway the vote, to cheat, and I think the only way we're going to get around that is for everybody to simply just get out and vote. If you haven't voted yet, get out there tomorrow and do it, because the country needs it. The country needs your vote. It's that simple.
If Biden were to get elected, do you see him living through his presidency? Or
No.
is this the Kamala Harris move to put her in power? And I just don't see him, with his mental faculties, with his history of his brain cancer or stroke or whatever the things he's had, that he's physically capable of standing up to the physical rigors, or not a Mission Impossible kind of assassination, but a president passes away in his sleep kind of thing.
Here's what I think. I tend to agree that Biden will not make it through his first 4 years. My gut tells me that if he gets elected, which I don't think he will, but if he manages to get elected, I honestly don't think he'll last the first 6 months. And I think he will either be impeached or he will be 25th Amendment out. They'll use the 25th Amendment on him because, like you said, his mental capacity has gone down. He acts and talks more like a man with dementia. I just don't see him lasting much longer than 6 months in that job. I don't see how he could do it. If he manages to be in office for much longer, and if the Republicans have a hold of the House and the Senate, I don't want to say guarantee, but I can just imagine that that there will be articles of impeachment put up against him because of what's on Hunter Biden's laptop and what we have learned, and now I mean, he's already under criminal investigation by the FBI, him and his son Hunter. They're already involved in a criminal investigation with the FBI. Technically speaking, Eric, in my opinion, technically speaking, Joe Biden is disqualified to be president of the United States. So I don't see him lasting in office if he wins, and that's a big if. If he wins, I don't see him lasting very long. I think what will happen is he will fade away one way or another. He will go away, and Kamala, excuse me, she'll end up taking over in the Oval Office, and we know what she's all about.
So in that case, the Secretary of State becomes the Vice President?
As I understand it, or it could happen the way that it happened when Gerald Ford took over for Richard Nixon. And he could, in theory, or she could, in theory, appoint a vice president, perhaps a Nancy Pelosi. And that would be scary, wouldn't it?
It's just biblically, this is a time where the overreach of government in closing down churches has had a dramatic effect.
Mm-hmm.
I think in God's economy, it says in Scripture, do not touch God's anointed or harm his prophets. Right. And I think that the state governors who shut down the churches are going to bear the brunt of judgment. Whether or not it's a compassionate judgment or it's a harsh judgment, they stepped in it when they determined churches were not essential services, and that liquor stores were. So marijuana shops were essential services. So this has been very confusing, but yet has shown the underbelly of the Democratic agenda.
I tend to agree, and Eric, that's another thing. That's another reason that I have hope that Donald Trump will win, because people are fed up with these COVID lockdowns. They really are. They're sick and tired of being told, that they have to wear a mask, even if they're in their own car and they're the only one in their own car, and all the windows are rolled up and they're driving down the freeway. Joe Biden has said he gets elected, he's going to have a national mask mandate, and he's going to have everybody wearing a mask on the interstate freeway. I don't see that happening. I really don't. And people are fed up with these dictatorial edicts. They really are. They're fed up with being told that, no, you can't go to church, but hey, it's okay for Black Lives Matter and Antifa to riot in the street and shoot people and burn businesses down. That's perfectly fine. But you can't go to church, or you can't go to synagogue. What? People are fed up with that, Eric. They really are, and they're sick and tired of government stomping on their freedoms, their First Amendment, Second Amendment freedom. People are fed up with it. They're getting more and more fed up with it with every passing day, and that's another reason why I'm cautiously optimistic that things will come out. Things will come out for Trump in the long run.
Well, that's certainly my hope, and it's not because of his personality. I don't think he did himself any favors by not listening to his advisors. And the first debate was not, it didn't do him any good.
Well, I hear what you're saying, Eric. I really do, and I'll grant you, there's Trump probably should have stepped back and let Joe Biden step into it on his own. He really should have. But Donald Trump is Donald Trump. He is who he is. And I think he did much better in the second debate. I think he won both debates. But in that first debate, I think he was not only going against Joe Biden, he was actually going against a tag team between Joe Biden and Chris Wallace. And that's never easy to overcome. It really isn't. Now, second debate, excuse me, second debate I thought he did much better, but then again, I thought the moderator did a whole lot better in that second debate. Granted, she's probably just as partisan in some form or fashion, but I thought she was a whole lot more fair in the way that she handled that debate. So I think he did well in both, but between the two, I think he did much better.
We're talking with Joe Newby of ConservativeFiringLine.com, as we do on the first Monday of every month in the 12 o'clock hour. You can subscribe to Conservative Firing Line. It is one of the most straightforward and authentic conservative blogs out there, representing a number of strong voices and strong perspectives. And Joe and I have known each other now for quite a few years. And if you're looking for pure conservative biblical perspective, then you're going to find it there at ConservativeFiringLine.com. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I want to talk about the changing role of media. If Trump is reelected, what is going to happen to mainstream media that has been under the firm grip of an anti-Trump agenda? We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. Shalom. I'm Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker, inviting you to join me and my special featured guest twice per month with Rabbi Zeb Parat and Carl Gallups, and monthly with Dr. Michael Heiser, Dr. Michael Lake, Dr. Timothy Jennings, Dr. Mark Baker, Dr. Jeffrey Johnson, Drs. Michelle and Mark Sherwood, Dr. Kim Moss, Derek Gilbert, Peter Rosenberger, Brandon Gallups, Steve Fair, Stephen Black, and Sean Tabbitt for in-depth insights into Israel, prophecy, the unseen realm, the brain, spiritual warfare, overcoming shame, mysteries of the Bible, prophetic insights, the sensational and the supernatural, caregiving, addiction recovery, understanding the divided heart, same-sex attraction, and much more. We're proud to feature some of the greatest biblical minds from both Israel and around the United States. Check out our featured guest lineup and 24/7 feed on ignitinganation.com, or watch by topic on any device with our free apps. If you can't find what you need, you're just not looking in the right place. Follow us on social media and download our free apps today.
With today's smartphone technology, news, information, sports, and entertainment is widely available and almost unbounded. But what about the information that believers in Yeshua are looking for? Well, now there's an app for that. Igniting a Nation now has apps available for Android and iPhone. With our app, you'll gain access to everything you would in our website, from our featured guests to our live streaming shows. Visit Google Play or the Apple Store and download Igniting a Nation's new app today.
Shalom. I'm Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker, inviting you to join me and Israel's #1 rated guide, Edo Canaan, for our annual Israel trip. Our 2022 trip is now open for registration for our 18th trip to Israel. Our trip will take us from Tel Aviv to the Galilee, down to the Dead Sea, and 4 nights in Jerusalem. You will walk where Yeshua walked and watch the Bible turn from black and white to living color. Visit ignitinganation.com/events and download the registration form today. No, it's not too early to take advantage of our payment plan designed to fit any budget. All of our trips sell out, and we want you to experience this life-changing journey. Registration is now open for April 2nd to 13th, 2022, and we promise you, you will never read your Bible the same way again. Shalom and welcome back to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heart lines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker. We're talking with Joe Newby of ConservativeFiringLine.com about the election coming up tomorrow. Joe, welcome back.
Well, good to be back with you, Eric.
Joe, if anything, this election has been an expose and a commentary on the bias of media. It is shown that media is corrupt, it is bought and paid for, it is not credible, it is prone to lie, it is prone to cover up, and if Trump is reelected, do you see it having any impact on any effort to clean up media bias? Or is that just something we have to live with, and you have the ability of free choice to tune out who you want to tune out and watch who you want to watch?
It will become even more biased. It will become even more hostile. And one of the things that I've seen over the last several months, probably the last couple of years, if you get right down to it, they're not just hostile toward Donald Trump. They're not just hostile toward Republicans in general. They are hostile toward anybody who supports this president, average people. I mean, when you have Joe Scarborough, who, by the way, used to be a Republican congressman from the state of Florida, when you have Joe Scarborough going on his program on MSNBC and declare Trump supporters are stupid. Stupid. Can you imagine that? Stupid. And you get that kind of thing from not just MSNBC, but you get it from CNN. Just the other day, Eric, you had Don Lemon, who, by the way, for your audience, was voted by our readers as the 2020 Liberal Media Propagandist of the Year. It was something we did just for fun, but when you have Don Lemon come on television and look into the camera and tell his audience of however many people he's got that he actually had to get rid of friends because they're Republican or they support President Trump, and he just couldn't have that. So he pushed them out of his life. Like, I mean, what kind of a friend is that? You know? I would say, with friends like that, who needs enemies, right? And that's absolutely insane. So no, to answer your question, Eric, I think the media will get even worse. They have already lost all credibility. I don't refer to them as the media much in my articles. To me, they're nothing more. I call them the Democrat media complex. To me, they are nothing more than the propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. And the people who work for these outlets, I refer to them as propagandists, because that is exactly what they are. They're not anchors, they're not journalists, they're not reporters. Um, they literally spin and refuse to tell the whole truth about any given topic.
So let's talk about this for a minute. Here you have an African American media personality, American television journalist, Don Lemon, born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, that says that I am going to selectively discriminate against somebody because of their political stance.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were to go on record and say that if my friends were in disagreement with me on race, I'm going to separate myself. I'm going to unfriend them.
Mm-hmm.
I would be a racist.
Right.
Discriminating against anybody for their policy or opinion and cutting them out and becoming a hater of them is a discriminatory practice. It does not allow for the First Amendment, freedom of speech, my right to my opinion, and your right to disagree. You don't have to agree with me,
Right.
but to say that we can't continue on and be a friend.
Well, and another thing too, Eric, for you and I, it's even more basic than that. It goes against God's law. Let's be clear. And you and I understand this. I think most reasonable people understand this. I have friends who are liberals. I don't agree with hardly anything they say, but like we used to say back in the day, I'll agree to disagree agreeably. Okay, we shake hands and we shake hands and we go on. But when somebody is not moored in the Word of God, and somebody's life is not guided by the principles within the Word of God, then this is the kind of thing you can expect, quite frankly. So it doesn't really surprise me. It really doesn't. I'm shocked, actually, that his network would let him get away with saying something like that. But when I stop and I look at what's, the garbage that's coming out of CNN, the garbage that comes out of MSNBC. I call MSNBC, by the way, the official network of insane liberal hate and rage and lying.
There's just something.
I remember when they had Chris Matthews and Keith Olbermann on, with their antics every single day. I remember when what was that guy's name? Bashir. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of his name. Bashir somebody or another. Martin Bashir. When he came on and suggested that Sarah Palin suffers something called Derby's dose, and I'm not going to tell your audience what that is. Let's just say it's very gross. It dates back to the days of slavery. It's disgusting. It's filthy. And if you want to know what it is, then I suggest you Google it. It's called Derby's dose or Darby's dose, but it was very, very nasty. I'll put it that way. And when he suggested that be done to Sarah Palin, I was livid. I was absolutely livid when he said that. But that's the kind of thing that we can expect from these networks now, Eric. And it's only going to get worse if Donald Trump wins. It's only going to get much worse. They're not going to get any better.
So how do we respond? Let's go with there's a new Democratic sheriff in town. It's a new White House. There's a smooth transition of power. That's going to happen. Donald Trump will step out of it. They'll threaten
if he loses.
Right, if he loses, they'll prosecute him or try to find ways to vilify him and go after him, because their hatred is so rabid that they will set the United States aside to prosecute and investigate him for every possible scenario to try to punish him for defeating Hillary Clinton. So what's America going to look like? Are we going to face a January 20th shutdown?
That's a good question, Eric. It really is. And I wish I had a good answer for you, but I really don't. My hope and prayer, though, Eric, is that Donald Trump will win. And I believe that he will if conservatives get out and vote. And not just conservatives, but even classic liberals. The liberal, the people that you and I and most others refer to as liberals, and we call them liberals, if you talk to them one-on-one and you get to understand what their thinking is, you find out that they're more moderate, possibly even center-right than they are liberals. They're more like what you might call a classic liberal. Okay, they're not the whacked out people that we look at, screaming up and down the streets and burning things and setting things on fire and calling for bloody revolution and this sort of thing. I think enough of those people, a lot of them, have walked away from the Democrat Party. The whole that's the whole impetus of the walk away movement. People are walking away from Joe Biden and the radical Democrat Party because they see this party is not what I joined. And they look at the Republican Party, they look at the conservatives, they look at us and they say, we may not agree on everything, but you treat me like a human being, and we can sit and we can talk and we can reason, things out. And when you get right down to it, sometimes you find out, wow, we have even more in common than we thought. So I think there's going to be more of that as time goes on. If Joe Biden wins, it's going to be a nightmare. Because you're going to have the radical left in charge. You're not going to have any classic liberals in charge of anything. It's going to be the radicals. It's going to be the George Soros types. It's going to be the Ilhan Omars, the AOCs. Those are going to be the ones that are pushing the buttons and setting policy. They've already said Joe Biden would be the most progressive left-wing president in all of history. They've already said it. Bernie Sanders has said it. AOC has said it. Joe Biden has even admitted it, I believe, a time or two. And they've made it clear, yes, he is going to be very left-wing. We're going to see the oil industry be brought to its knees. We're going to see the economy brought to its knees. We're going to see millions more people out of work. More government edicts on our lives. It's going to be a nightmare, and you're not going to see very many classic liberals getting involved in that.
The damage that can be done in a short period of time. For example, his elevating China will make them the greatest world power. That's not easily undone.
No,
it was not. It was not easily undone to take the USSR from the 1900s to the Mr. Gorbachev tear down the wall.
Right.
It took a long time. We are faced in America with an incredible Chinese investment that's already here. One of the largest landowners, one of the largest building owners, one of the largest business owners. And if, in fact, he aligns with the communist country of China.
Well, you know he will.
Which
He's had a love affair with China for years,
Right.
Eric. You know he's going to.
So that changes everything and is not easily undone.
Exactly. What you're going to see is you're going to see all the corruption, everything that's been going on behind the scenes for the last, who knows how long. It's all going to be brought right into the White House. And you better believe that Joe Biden will live up to the nickname of China Joe. You better believe it.
So if that were the case, then 2024 is the year of Nikki Haley.
I could live with that. I really could. I could live with Nikki Haley. I think she would do a good job. I really do.
I think she's the only one that can cut the legs out from under whatever he does. I've looked around. The ones that I was counting on bailed out on me. Trey Gowdy.
Yeah.
Bitter disappointment. Bitter. I've never been so disappointed as to see somebody step away.
Yeah, I was too. I hated
to
see that happen. I really did.
And there were others who were shining stars. They were rising stars. Ted Cruz. He's turned into a bearded, pundit. He's not the Ted Cruz he was when he was active in Congress. There were people that I saw as the future leaders. Mario Rubio, he's not going to happen.
A hack.
He is a hack. So we have to get the vote out.
No question about that, Eric. That's the key to this whole thing, is turnout. If we can get turnout up, 60-70%, there's no doubt in my mind that Donald Trump will win, because there are more people. Like I said, the enthusiasm level for Donald Trump is off the charts. It's even higher than it was in 2016, I believe. And when you look at the enthusiasm for Joe Biden, there is none. There never has been any enthusiasm for Joe Biden. Okay? You look at the number of people that attend his little parking lot rallies. There's no one there.
And the difference is going to be in the Latino and in the African American community turning out and breaking the trend of believing that the Democratic Party was their friend and had their best interest at heart. And I think that the best thing that happened is that that's been exposed as a lie. And if that number breaches 20% swing, that's going to carry Donald Trump over the line.
I firmly agree.
The evangelical needs to get out, but if the minority vote comes out in favor of Donald Trump, that will be what changes the landscape and what people are going to be surprised about. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but we will be back to review in just 4 weeks as we meet together on the first Monday of next month, as we assess the impact of the vote tomorrow. Our message to you in America today is get up, get out, and vote, and make your vote count, because the future of America depends on you. Joe Newby, conservativefireline.com. Always good to see you first Monday of every month. Read his blogs. Go up to conservativefireline.com and find out some really interesting perspectives and points of view you will not find anywhere else. You can catch them here on the first Monday of every month at the 12 o'clock hour. Joe, always good to see you.
Good to see you, my friend.
Love to the bird, and
thank you.
We will see you next month. God bless.
Will do. Sounds good. God bless, my friend.
All right, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll bring you the next edition of Revealing the Truth.